Boys, welcome to another video and the start of the Earth-2 MyNBA series. Let's get into it. So essentially what this video is if you've seen Kenny's series on 2K23, he goes back and he basically rewrites the NBA a little bit. So we are going to start here in the 80s very early on. And I've loaded in Mike's draft class, obviously, because we want him in the game. But then after that, each year we're going to spin a wheel and have a different draft class loaded in. Now I'm going to do 3 seasons per team, and then we're going to change teams at the end of each episode. So hopefully that makes sense. We'll explain it more as we go along. But we're going to do a quick rundown of all the rosters, and this episode is just going to be a little bit of an explanatory one, breaking things down just like the first episode of the Spurs MyNBA series. So if you haven't seen that, be sure to check it out. But right now we are on the 76ers. We don't have to use them. I just loaded in because they're the first team alphabetically. But it is up to you guys. I will leave that in a poll possibly between teams. I think that could be fun. Otherwise, I might just choose the worst team in the power rankings and then go from there. Or just another team I think would be interesting. So I can say the Sixers have Moses. They have Dr. J at a 90 overall. He's 33 years old. Wow. Mo Cheeks at an 84, Bobby Jones, and then there's a bit of a drop off there. And I find that's the problem with a lot of these older rosters in 2K, is you'll have like Sidney Moncrief at a 90, you have Marcus Johnson at an 85, and then 82 here with Bob Lanier. And then after that, you got an 80, but it really drops off to a bunch of 70s. Now, I wasn't around for the 80s, so I can't comment on if this is how the NBA talent was actually spread back in the day, but I feel like it wasn't. I feel like, for example, this guy here, Kevin... Is that Gravy? I don't know. Please forgive me. I definitely butchered that. But I feel like maybe he wasn't a 70 overall or Eddie Jordan, at least in comparison, to the other guys in the league. But again, I can't really comment on that because I wasn't there. I don't even know if they're all real people. Here we have the Bullets. So they have Jeff Ruland and Ricky Sobers. That's a W of a name because of everything that was happening in the 80s. Reggie Theus here on the Bulls, of course. This is before they get Mike. So that could be interesting. We could even rebuild them and then try to actually get Mike, but we probably do want things to be a little bit different. World B free on the Cavs here with Cliff Robinson. Larry Bird. The Celtics would be fun, but obviously just a super team. Same with the Lakers. Norm Nixon here in San Diego on the Clippers. Dominique here on the Hawks. This could be an okay team because you've got him. He's pretty much a budding superstar. Tree Rollins. And then it's a drop-off, so there'd definitely be some rebuild aspect there that we could get done in 3 years. Adrian Dantley here with Ricky Green. We've got Eddie Johnson in Kansas, along with Larry Drew. Bernard King here on the Knicks. Knicks could be a fun one. The Lakers here with 2 95s, an 84, an 82, an 80, and an 80. How do we feel about Magic and Kareem both being 95s? I don't know. I mean, Kareem's old at this point. He's still good. Magic, I don't know if at this point he is, but he was the youngest finals MVP ever. So have that going for him. Kareem's still very good, obviously. Mark Aguirre here at a 90 with Rolando Blackman. Otis Birdsong in New Jersey, along with Buck Williams. Alex English on the Nuggets with Kiki Vandeweghe. This could be a fun team as well, actually. Dan Issel is at an 85. That might make them too good, just having a big 3 by default in this league. Clark Kellogg, 2K legend on Indiana. The Pistons, they have Zeke, Bill Laimbeer, so no Joe Dumas yet. I still don't think they would be an option just because they are still really good as is. Ralph Sampson here on the Rockets. Now, this could be a fun team, actually. Build around Ralph. Imagine Ralph Sampson with Jordan. I mean, you obviously got Akeem, but that could be fun too. George Gervin here at a 91, along with Artis Gilmore. Walter Davis on the Suns, Mo Lucas, Jack Sikmar on the Supersonics. They could actually be fun too, just because obviously we don't have Seattle in the league yet, but we could always come back to them at a later date. Blazers here have Jim Paxson and Calvin Nat. The Warriors with Purvis Short and Joe Barry Carroll, and then way back to the start. Now, I am hoping that the preloaded draft classes work because I'm assuming people haven't gotten around to making old draft classes, but not super old ones. I mean, I guess super old at this point, but once we get to your 2014, 2015, because I saw a glitch the other day that wouldn't let me load in 2K historic draft classes except for the most current one. So we'll see how that goes. Also heard that sim speed on PS5 is a lot faster than Xbox, so hopefully they go ahead and fix that in an update shortly. But if we scooch over to the power rankings, of course they have the Lakers 1, Philly at 2, not Boston. That is interesting. So I guess Moses Moyen at a 95, they weigh that very heavily. But the Celtics have Larry Bird, who's a 97, and Robert Parrish, and Kevin McHale. who's coming off the bench. That is interesting for Cedric Maxwell. We might have to fix that if 2K doesn't automate it. So you got those three teams. If we wanted to go down to the bottom, they have the Cavs ranked dead last. And yeah, that makes sense. I'm not really excited to use them, so that probably scratched them off the list. Kansas City. See, I want at least one established player. They don't have to be a superstar, but just someone we can use. Eddie Johnson's not bad. The Bullets, they've got Jeff Ruland. You have to forgive me, I don't know pretty much anything about this guy. Do we have any? Okay, so he's played a couple years here in Washington. Last year he averaged 19 and 11, even hit 33% of his threes. How many did he take? 3. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so probably not them. The Bulls, I'm not opposed to. Obviously, they don't have that guy, but just because it's Chicago in the 80s, I wouldn't be opposed to that. So add them to the list. Indiana, not really too interested in. The Hawks, as I said, I think would be a decent one because we have Dominique. So far, I'm going to add the Bulls and the Hawks. The Suns here have a trio of pretty much 85 overall players. So I'm just thinking, because it is also 3 seasons, we probably don't want the worst team because we do want to make an impact on what we're actually doing. So we got the Mavs here, they could be fun. And then I think the Rockets too. So those are the teams I'm probably going to add to this poll. And then depending on how you guys vote, if at all, we can go with that. Otherwise, I will probably just pick the one I'm most interested in. So we've got the 2K draft class here. Obviously, Mike is going to be the #1 ranked player. So he's there. Then we have Akeem Olajuwon, John Stockton, Otis Thorpe, Jay Humphries. So you guys know what this draft class is about. You got Sam Perkins all the way down here. Now, I do like having user-made ones because they tend to actually put in more effort to having the later pick guys. But this is what we're going to have to rock with for now. So there is a lot of options for whoever we get with our pick. Hopefully we can get one of the upper tier dudes, but as I said, if we don't want to do one of the worst teams, we might not. We can always try and trade up though for one of those guys. So this will obviously be its own world, and all the moves we make have nothing to do with real life. So it doesn't really matter what we decide to do or which team we decide to go with for starters. And then we're just going to build off there. So last year's rankings, that Philly, Boston, Milwaukee. So who was actually the worst team here? It was the Pacers in the East. They had 20 wins. And over in the West, it was the Rockets. Yeah, okay. So they are the worst team. So we might actually go with them. I think I will go with them unless you guys vote differently in the poll. So I will wait and see for that. And then in upcoming free agents, so we have Jim Paxson, Joe Barry Carroll, Bill Cartwright. So no superstars, but definitely some difference makers who we could go out and sign depending on which team we want to go with. And so I did adjust the salary sliders just a little bit because this tends to be an issue more so later on in the current NBA, but just trying to get ahead of it. So we've raised this slider. It's a bit confusing, but that actually means, as you can see on the bottom, higher rated players will expect a minimum contract. So that's because the higher rated players always expect way too much. You can say, they're the best players, they should. But sometimes it gets ridiculous and the salary cap just tends to break. And one guy wants like the entire salary cap. So we got that there. Max rating, we have raised a little bit too. So that means lower rated players expect a max contract. Again, everyone just expects slightly too much money, I feel. And then salary curve just adjusts for the guys in between. So we'll raise that just by 1. Player potential at a 45. I lowered that just a little bit because, sometimes you see first or second year players in the game and the teams let them walk because they're expecting 30 million and they haven't played a single game or they haven't been good. So first guy that comes to mind is Patrick Williams. Not to say that he's bad, but he expects Kawhi Leonard money. So once we get to that point, player durability. I also lowered player minutes a little bit just because people that play a lot shouldn't expect a ton of money just because they play a lot. And then the rest of those I've left the same. So that's just something I'm mucking around with. We'll see how that actually goes. And then as per usual, I always lower the frequency of injuries for both CPU and user, as well as the injury effects slightly, just because, with 2K it gets ridiculous. It's way too common. Yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. Just a quick one going over everything and the plans for this series and trying to get a vote from you guys to see who we want to do first and sort of explaining the rules / method we're going to use for this. And if I forgot anything, of course, I'll explain it to you as we go. But hopefully you guys did enjoy. I'll put out that poll shortly and you guys can let me know sort of which team you want. I'm leaning towards the Rockets, but we'll see how we go. So hopefully you guys did enjoy. Hopefully you're enjoying the game. And if you enjoyed the video and you want to stick around to see how this series plays out or any of the other series that I've going on at the moment, I would greatly appreciate if you would hit that subscribe button, and the like button helps me out a ton. No pressure. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. And until the next one, peace out.